Do you believe in them? There's a place that you might like to visit, a place that we've alluded to a couple of times on the show this morning, where a little bit of ghostly activity is going on.
That's why I am yearning just to be returning along the road to Gundagai.
That's right, Gundagai is where it's at. In fact, all around this region, we've heard that the National Film and Sound Archive even might be home to some spooky spirits. Producer Sarah has confirmed that, yes, she will volunteer to camp out overnight just to check. Not too far from Canberra, the road to Gundagai, the Old Gundagai Gaol. Seems like many people believe there might be a ghost or two. One is Colleen, who joins me on the line. She's a paranormal investigator and will be at the ghost hunt this weekend. Colleen, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Hey, Emma, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about Happy Ghost Hunter Tours.
So interesting. So I don't even know where to begin with this conversation, but let's start with you being a member of the Australian Paranormal Investigators. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we're a group of investigators that was formed in 2011 by Peter Banks, who owns the company. And we do ghost tours and events around New South Wales.
Okay, so you do ghost tours, but there's a little bit more to do with that because, am I right in saying you're a ghost hunter?
Yeah.
And is there some sort of training that you have to do? Like, I can't just go out looking for ghosts, can I?
Well, why not? I mean, we all watch the paranormal YouTube videos and things like that, and the equipment is well and truly available. Peter has a lot of experience in the paranormal field, and she has given us a lot of the training that we have. We do a lot of our own research as well, and we go out there and just have some fun.
I mean, that's part of it, isn't it? Like, if you love this type of thing, you're not there to once and for all prove to yourself that it's not real, are you? It's you're there to have a bit of fun with it, to see if anything pops up, maybe extrapolate from different clues what's going on. Is there a historical element to it? Do you like to know about the location you're visiting?
Oh, absolutely. We always have a look at the history of the locations before we do any of our investigations. Gundagai Gaol, for instance, we're drawn to from its history. I mean, it was built in 1859. It remains a rare and largely intact compound. And turned it into a lockup in 1870. Prisoners were transported to Goulburn or Sydney. So has some really notable characters and prisoners, including the famous bushranger, Captain Moonlight and his gang.
And have you been there yet in person, or will this be your first time?
No, Gundagai Gaol we've been doing for about 4 years now. So we started in 2021 and we have our next event on Saturday, January the 4th.
And what's the feeling? Like, are you the type of, I'm going to keep calling you a ghost hunter if that's okay. Are you the type of ghost hunter, not to be confused with a ghost buster, that can feel the ghosts in a space when you walk in?
Look, I do have times when I will feel a difference in the environment that I'm standing in. Sometimes I can go and stand in a cell by myself in the absolute dark at 2 o'clock in the morning with no problems whatsoever. I could probably fall asleep.
What?
Other times I am getting the hell out of there.
Let me ask you this then, Colleen. Have you ever been to a seemingly normal place? Maybe you visited a new friend's home, you're at a shopping centre, I don't know, and you just get the heebie-jeebies, like you get ghost vibes?
Oh, absolutely. Happens to me quite a little bit. Walking into any new location or any new home or places that I might go to, even visiting some of our other historic sites that we don't necessarily investigate, and the hair can stand up on the back of the neck.
Have you ever done any of your investigation here in Canberra? I mean, Gundagai's pretty close by, but anything in the nation's capital?
I haven't personally yet, but I'd love to do it. But Pete, who is our owns Appy, has definitely done a few things in Canberra and has some great stories.
Oh, well, we might have to get him on one day to continue this conversation on the text line 0467 922 666. I'd love to hear your ghost stories, but also the poll is going off. 65% of people say yes, they believe in ghosts. 35% say no. All you need to do is text yes or no to 0467 922 666. My guest today is Colleen Perrich, and she is, I'm calling her a ghost hunter, but she is part of the Australian Paranormal Investigators. She is a paranormal investigator. Let's go with that one. But you're also, what do you do in your day job? This is not your full-time job, is it?
No, it's not. We all have full-time jobs. I'm a registered nurse by trade, and I work for a home care company. So I have a wonderful job outside of doing investigations, and I have a wonderful job investigating as well.
Oh, that sounds like you have a very complete life with your hobbies and your work. Tell me, what's the spookiest? Actually, you know what? I might need to set the scene for this a little bit because I want to know your spookiest story. You ready? Okay, Colleen, what is the spookiest story you've got to tell us today on 666 ABC Radio Canberra? Go.
So, Emma, I'm going to go to Gundagai Gaol because that's what we're talking about.
Do it.
Right. So there's a cell block at Gundagai Gaol. Walked in one day to make sure that everybody was out to lock up. And as I was standing there and blocking a few of the doors, I seen someone walking into one of the end cells. Now, I thought it was just one of the crew who was still wandering around. So I walked down saying, hey, we're locking up, it's time to go.
No.
And as I walked into that cell with nowhere else to go, there was no one in there.
No, stop it, Colleen.
Absolutely.
Did you scream?
Oh, well, I hightailed it out of there a little bit.
Okay, well, hang on. In a scenario like that, would you ever try to make contact with the ghost, or would you let it do its thing? Like, is it important that we respect the peace of the ghosts?
Look, it's definitely important to respect any spirits that are hanging around within the locations that we're in. However, I mean, that's what we're there for, is to try and see if we can make contact and see if they can give us a little bit of their story. So, often we'll come back into the area that maybe something has happened in with some of the equipment and maybe just do a quick investigation to see if there's anything there or anyone who wants to talk to us. But we definitely respect the locations.
Now we have to talk about that equipment. And please, if you have a question for Colleen, I think this is a very interesting chat about something that doesn't come up, on a day-to-day basis. If you've got some questions for her, 0467 922 666. My question is, what do you mean when you say equipment? What do you use?
Well, there's numerous equipments that we can use. Electromagnetic field detectors are one of the sort of vital fields. The theory is that spirits or ghosts are made up from electromagnetic material. So we use what we call a EMF detector. So that's something that's got little lights on it. And if it's coming in contact with any EMF, then the lights will come and shine up brighter or fuller. We also use what we call a REM pod. A REM pod is a wonderful piece of little equipment that we can sit down, and if anyone comes in contact with the antenna that we put up, little lights go off and often will end up looking like a bit of a Christmas tree. So,
What do you mean? Like it'll just light up more based on how much paranormal activity is there?
Absolutely. So the more EMF that it's detecting, the more lights will shine, and wonderful music will come as well. Coming with music, we use a music box as well. That has a little infrared detector. So if anything crosses the line, it starts to play really spooky music.
Of course it does.
You can imagine what that's like at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was about to say, you couldn't possibly have it just play something like Happy Birthday. It has to be spooky music, doesn't it?
Of course it's got to be spooky. Got to set the scene.
Colleen, so if somebody comes on the tour, say they go along to the Gundagai Gaol, what can they expect from a tour? Like say, for example, you're a little bit nervous, but you're intrigued at the same time. Can you sort of control the experience at all? Like, if you're in there and you just think this is not for me, can you leave? Like, what does the experience look like?
Yeah, so what we do with Gundagai Gaol is we actually do an event where we do a few little what we call vigils to see if we can make contact. So experiments, different types. We normally break people up into smaller groups so that they don't have too many people with them. And we do about 3 or 4 experiments throughout. Now that could include playing with the equipment and trying to make contact. It might be a sensory deprivation experiment that we do where we put you in a room by yourself and we monitor you with CCTV. We might also do experiments where we get into a little bit more of the spiritual side. So we might use some dowsing rods and some pendulums and things like that. So we use a whole lot of variety of different experiments to try to make contact.
Have you ever encountered a scenario where someone known to a person on the tour tries to make contact? You know, sometimes we see these shows like Long Island Medium, and there's a cab driver who you step in and he talks to your, dead relatives for you. Ever encountered anyone with a message for someone?
We've had a few people who are mediums who might come on our events and things like that, and they have sometimes said that somebody was around and that might mean something to another guest, which, often will bring them comfort.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned earlier that I think a lot of this comes from a search for comfort, not necessarily the people who are going to these historical sites and just curious, but more so when a relative has passed, some sign shows up, maybe there's some visitation of some sort, that perhaps it is a yearning for comfort. But, either way, I think it serves a good purpose. Don't you think, Colleen, there's something positive about that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that what happens with people, what happened with me when I first started, is that you kind of, maybe something happens for you and you need that next big thing and that next big thing to happen. So you sort of go searching for it. A good amount of positive, healthy skepticism isn't a bad thing as well.
Yeah, I do think it's healthy. I was saying that my prediction was that our audience would be filled with cynics. That was not, casting aspersions on them. I can't possibly know every single one of them, but I thought they'd be more cynical than they actually are. The poll is still sitting on, let me refresh just in case, but I think it's at 67, hang on, yep, 67% yes, 33% no. Have you ever, Colleen, encountered a hardened cynic, someone who did not believe in ghosts at all, for whom maybe you've been able to open their eyes or you've changed their mind?
We had a wonderful person come on our tour once. She was so excited to be there. But what happens a lot of the time is women tend to bring their husbands along who don't have any interest whatsoever. So we had this one guy at one of our events one night who was walking around saying, "Nope, don't believe, don't believe." He eventually went and did the one of our experiments, and he lasted about 32 seconds before he threw everything down and ran out of there and said, "Nope, I'm not going back in there again." And then the rest of the night, everything happened for him. So he left a believer.
Oh, my goodness. He was a medium and he didn't even know it. All the ghosts were just, "Oh, he's here. Tell everybody he's here." It's so funny. What about, are some ghosts malicious? Have you ever been scared of a ghost? Because it sounds like you enjoy this quite a lot. But have you ever been really scared of something you've encountered?
Look, I think that we sometimes will feel a heavy presence around us. I think it also, goes a lot with how you're feeling and things like that. I can't say that anything's throwing a chair at me or anything like that.
Well, that's good.
But you do get sometimes where you may feel a little bit of a heavy presence and may feel like it's time to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel that. And also just the fact that you're at these spooky places at like 3:00 in the morning. This particular ghost hunt that you're doing at the Old Gundagai Gaol doesn't start quite as late, does it?
No, it doesn't. But then ghosts don't actually have a
timetable.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that they only came out at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But we've collected plenty of evidence from plenty of places, including Gundagai, where we've had some wonderful experiences.
That is so interesting. I think we need to get you down. Producer Sarah said that the National Film and Sound Archive apparently has some paranormal activity. She's volunteered to sleep over there. So if you need an assistant, I can vouch for her. She's a great worker, and I think she'd be really brave in this scenario. Colleen, you might have to take her with you.
Absolutely, no problem.
Awesome. Well, Colleen, I really appreciate you coming on today, opening our eyes to this work that you do that is a little bit out there, I'll be honest, but also showing us that there are some real positives, particularly for those people that kind of have these experiences and it brings them some comfort. Thanks so much for your time today.
No worry, Emma. And if that 33% want to come along to Gundagai, there's still tickets available for Saturday, the 4th of January, and our next event there is in April.
To be convinced otherwise, it's actually down. The ones who don't believe is now down to 32%, with 68% of believers. And someone has texted in on 0467 922 666 to say perhaps all of the non-believers are down at the coast for the holidays, says Jackie.
Well, if they want to get any tickets to the events, they can go to our website at appy.com.au.
That's marvellous. Colleen, thanks so much for your time this morning.
No worries, Emma. Bye.
Bye. Colleen Perich there.